Much like the rest of the world, I'm stuck on Rush Tuck, specifically Alabama Rush Tuck. This is insane and actually really exciting. Everyone talks about how crazy it is for these PNMs or these girls going through the rush process, but no one highlights how crazy it is behind the scenes. These women in these sororities have been working on recruitment for months. They have been going so hard for the last couple weeks straight. This is all they've done. This is all they've thought about. This is all they've talked about. When they get to sleep, this is all they dream about. It's insane. Looking back on it, I think, oh my gosh, how much fun was that? But also, I never want to do that again. And how on earth did I live through that? I did some sleuthing around the internet to kind of combine a few recipes to find something I liked in order to make a peach sweet tea cupcake. I used Heather McDonald's recipe for the sweet tea cupcakes and the lemon sweet tea frosting. For the cupcakes, you need whole milk, flour, baking soda and salt, sugar, canola oil, vanilla extract, 2 eggs, and 10 tea bags. I began this process by heating up some milk to steep my tea bags. I just went ahead and chucked them in. Should I have taken the tags off before throwing them in a pot of warm milk? Probably. Did I? Absolutely not. This recipe started off going strong. I sifted my flour, baking soda, and salt. I put it in the stand mixer. There goes the sugar, both in my mixture and on the counter. The vegetable oil that I previously spilled all over the counter. And here's where it went off track. Rightfully so, I should have alternated my wet and dry ingredients in order to make sure I had the right texture of batter. Did this happen? No. I realized it about midway through and went, we'll see what happens. Now that I've realized my mistake, let's go ahead and add those eggs and just keep mixing. Add the vanilla and then the tea, which makes this a tea sponge cake, and then just keep mixing and cross your fingers that it's gonna turn out. At this point, I figured there's no harm in baking this and giving it a try, so I mixed it up and added it to our cupcake pan. The recipe took a little longer to bake than called for, but I figure that's probably my fault. Now on to the peach filling. The recipe calls for 3 cups of cut up peaches. They recommend that you peel them and dice them. I started doing that, but ultimately it was just too much work, so I just diced them. As if you couldn't tell with the sponge portion of this recipe, I took a lot of shortcuts. It said to measure out this much and hold off this much. I just eyeballed it. Originally, I was a little concerned that keeping the skins on would make the mixture brown or maybe not as bright, but ultimately, as long as it tasted good, I wasn't too worried about it. This portion of the recipe also took much longer than I anticipated. It took a while to bring these peaches to a boil, and then you had to let them simmer, let them get soft, then mash them up a bit, and then eventually add in the remaining peaches. Allow it to come to a simmer once more, and then take it off the heat entirely and let cool before using. Now, the sweet tea frosting couldn't come without its faults either. This frosting has way too much liquid in the recipe to actually come together with the given ingredients. Just wait until we get to adding the tea to this, you'll see exactly what I mean. Liquid doesn't necessarily mix well with fat. I started to absolutely panic. I consulted the recipe once more, I stopped it, I scraped it down, I tried mixing it some more, and ultimately just kept adding powdered sugar until it reached a frosting-like consistency. It's now time to assemble. I use the bottom of a piping tip to core out the center of the cupcake in order to make space to put that peach filling in. After each of these cupcakes were filled, I then grabbed my piping bag and frosted each one. You'll notice there was a few shortcuts taken in today's video. So there's just kind of like a bite-sized amount, it's hard to see with how it's cut, of peach filling. So if that's not something you like, it's easily avoidable. If that is something that you like, you can always add more. That's sweet. The tea flavor is really nice. The frosting, I really enjoy the lemon zest of it. The peach filling's good. All in all, I'm pretty pleased with this cupcake. I hope that every girl going through this process has a great time and finds their forever home. For the actives, great job. You made it through it. We'll do it again next year. As always, thank you so much for watching. I thought this would be a fun video to celebrate what everyone wants to talk about, especially what I want to talk about. Rush season on TikTok. Now as other schools begin their rush process, I'll be following along for that as well. I wish you all a very happy recruitment process. We'll see you next week for another video. That might be a little dry. Not every recipe's a winner.